Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, I'm doing a Q&A video today, and I know that's a little bit out of the norm. I had asked over on Instagram stories if you guys wanted to see the assumptions tag going around YouTube, and it was kind of hit and miss. Most of you said you'd just rather see a Q&A. I've only watched 2 of those videos, and I thought they were fine, but I realized some people can have different views on how they come across or whatever, but to me they all seem to kind of turn into Q&As anyway. Now I know I hold out on y'all with the Q&As and personal type videos. I've done a few here and there on my channel in the past, and they just always make me cringe a little bit when I look back on them. I don't know if they seem kind of unprofessional to me, or, at the end of the day, I just don't like to put a lot of personal information out there. I'm fine if you guys ask me questions one-on-one. I feel like I'm kind of an open book a little bit that way. But as far as just getting on and saying a bunch of stuff, I just don't really do that. That's not how I am in real life, and that's not how I'm on here. But I'm gonna answer your questions today. There are a lot of them. Hopefully I can get to them in one video. If not, we'll have to make a part 2. So these are in no order. I have them on my phone here. So the first one is, how far ahead do you and your husband plan your vacations? Cruises, flying overseas, etc. It really depends. So for instance, when we went to Scotland last year in June, we planned that in January. We had been thinking about it for years, and it just is like every time it came up, we look at flights, they were extremely expensive for where we live and surrounding areas flying out of, that it was like more than the cost of a trip. Like we probably paid twice as much as anybody else because of just the airports around us. But that one, a few months. Some cruises, like our Alaskan cruise, we did book almost about a year in advance because Alaska cruise season's very short. Cabins can fill up, it can be very crowded, so you want to make sure to get like the perks, the pricing, everything that you want. Those I suggest booking out ahead of time. But most vacations, I would say, are between 3 and 6 months. Like we're actually going to California this fall on a cruise with my parents, and since it's my in-laws and my parents and us, we did book that out much later than we normally would have because there's other people involved, and we got like a really good deal. What is your favorite cruise line and best cruise experience? These are not all cruise related, by the way. There just happens to be a few in here. Because by the way, I did just do a Q&A cruise related video. I'll link that below. So favorite cruise line, I answered in that video. Right now it's been Princess. We like a lot of cruise lines for different things. I said in that video, if like you could just take a little bit from each one and make the perfect cruise line, that'd be great. Best cruise experience, I don't know, we've had a lot of them. So I would say, I don't know, a lot of them in the Caribbean have been really nice. Alaska was great. I highly recommend that. I had put off going for years. I just had no desire to go. And all of a sudden I kind of wanted to go, and I'm so happy we did. What did you do before YouTube? Well, a lot of things. I'm one of those people, I always joke and say, I know a little about a lot. I've done all kinds of things. I've worked in banking. I even worked at Target when I was a teenager. I've been an esthetician, a makeup artist, but mainly business, I would say. My last job before YouTube, I was a business manager for a large organization, and kind of like business finance, that kind of thing. I've worked in accounting before, just business related, things like that. Hi, if it's not too personal, why have you decided not to have children? Okay, this was probably the most asked question. It's always like, if we have kids, why we don't have kids, and about my husband. I have said this in a past video, and I don't know, maybe this will help you guys that wonder when you know people or see people without kids. I've said this, 2 things. You could always just assume pretty much with people without kids. They either don't want kids or they can't have kids, one or the other. That's pretty much always the case with people that don't have kids. And I know it's always a curious thing, but to me, I'm always like, if you don't hear me talking about kids, we don't have kids. But I understand the curiosity. So we don't have kids, and the question of why we decided not to have kids, we just never wanted kids. I just don't think you should be pressured into having kids if you don't want kids, like by your family or just anything, you know, you should just be able to tell if you don't want kids. And my husband and I never really did. For like a hot minute, I thought I wanted to, like a year or so after we got married, and that kind of passed. And now we just both said the other night when I was reading him some of these questions, and I said a lot of them are about having kids, he was like, yeah, I don't regret not having kids. It's just never something I wanted. Okay, another one, do you have children? I mean, there was like so many of these, so I answered that. What's on your luxury goods radar for this year? You know, only a couple things. I go through stages, I've mentioned this before in some of my videos, like I've done luxury wish list videos and such. I either want nothing or I want all kind of things, but there's only two things right now have been on my radar for a little while. I want another YSL bag. I want a black one, a little bit bigger than the cream beige color one I bought last year. I really like that bag. And I like the timeless look of YSL. I'm kind of getting over seeing so much Louis Vuitton, so much Gucci. I thought I wanted Gucci last year. I'm so thankful I don't have one because I just think it's everywhere. And that's one of those bags that there is a lot of counterfeit out there. So I just feel like anytime something like that happens, it kind of just makes it feel icky. Like when something's everywhere, it makes me not want to have it a lot of times. There are a few Louis Vuitton pieces I'd still probably like, and I may get something in the spring when we're in St. Thomas. I always usually go in that store. The other one is a Prada bag, and I just want a very classic looking, I forget the exact name of it right off the top of my head, like tan beige color, something I can have for a long time, but that's really it. Okay, and then what does my husband do? A lot of questions always about him. And so the easy answer is he is an engineer. But then a lot of people around here are engineers. Actually, I think we have like the largest population of engineers in the country, possibly. So yeah, he's an engineer. That's the simple answer. Favorite food splurge? I'm guessing you mean like, you know, if I could just eat anything and not have to worry about it. Maybe pizza. I do still eat pizza, but I would eat it more often, that's for sure. Do you still sell Stella & Dot? I do. I actually answered this in a couple of videos back as well. Maybe like the best of 2018, I think, because I had some Stella & Dot pieces in there. I do. I just have not been real active with it because the line for a while just hasn't excited me. So if I'm not excited about something, you're not going to see me talking about it as much. I do still sell it. I still make sales. I have people still purchasing. Like I'm wearing two pieces actually right now from Stella & Dot. It's just, I went through kind of a phase where I wasn't loving a lot of the items. I would just buy things here and there. So I'm not buying the whole collection and showing it, you know, like I used to, but I still am purchasing, still selling it. So if you need anything, let me know. What was your first job? My first job was a teller at a credit union. I was in an organization in high school my senior year called Business Professionals of America. And we had a job, like you could leave half day and go to work, but it had to be like an office job, like a professional job. Like there was also DECA, but that was different. I believe you could work just about anywhere with DECA because I had a lot of friends like worked in grocery stores and other things like that. But this had to be a business environment. So, you know, kind of normal business hours. So I worked in a credit union as a teller and I left, you know, like half days to go to work. So like around noon or so until 5 o'clock. And I really liked that job. And then I moved into the loan department after that. And I really liked that. But then the recession hit. So I got laid off because there was two of us in the loan department. They'd already filled my position as a teller, and then they were cutting back all across, so they didn't need me in the loan department, so I got laid off. But that was my first job. Do you have any advice on taking a good photograph? Well, it just takes practice. Natural light is always best if you can. Don't be like backlit. A lot of people are backlit, meaning they like say I have a window in front of me, they will turn their back to it instead of front. So if you see a lot of pictures of me on Instagram or in stories, I try to get in front of a really big window because it's great lighting and it blurs imperfections, just makes you look great. Actually, an overcast day, a lot of times if it's not too cloudy, but just overcast, that actually can make for really good outdoor lighting because you don't want really harsh sunlight. And as far as like posing or anything else, honestly, that just takes practice and you'll find kind of what's your best angle. Like mine has changed over the years, and like my smile and different things that I think have changed as I've gotten older. So if you have a side, if you have a pose, you know, just what looks flattering. So you kind of almost just have to check it out, take pictures, practice in a mirror, or like to actually take photos as practice. What products do you use for a glam look? I wouldn't say there's any specific products, it's just in the application. So, but definitely like most of the time if I do a glam look, it's for at nighttime. So I will definitely make sure there's nothing too glowy on my face, because a lot of times if you're getting glammed up or it's an event, you're gonna have photos taken and you don't want that flashback. So I definitely make sure I powder, I have a more matte foundation on, conceal every little thing I can. Like I'm definitely more fine-tuning the concealer, and I doll up my eyes more. Eyes are definitely one of those things that get lost in photographs or at night out. So I just do up my eyes a lot more. So this is, do you work outside of your YouTube channel? Do you have kids? So I answered the kids. I told you there's a lot of them. No, I do not work outside of my YouTube channel anymore, unless you want to call Stella and Doc working outside of it. Those are the two things I'm doing right now. But there's a lot of things about YouTube. It's not just YouTube. Like there's a lot of other things that go into, like YouTube is not my main revenue source, if that answers your question a little bit better. I have actually contemplated going back to work, doing something, because I miss getting out of the house. I miss getting ready for work every day. Like that's where a lot of like the outfit things, people have always kind of asked me about my clothing and outfits, but I always liked getting dressed up for work, looking nice. You know, I was in management, so I had to look nice most of the time, especially if I was going to a meeting, like at our corporate office or something, you know, I'd have on a nice suit. And I just really liked putting outfits together and still looking like fresh and modern and cool, not like necessarily stuffy and office, you know, like you could still look cool and put together, but have color and different pattern mixing and all that. Like I miss that. And I miss, like people think, oh my God, I'd love to work at home. It's great for those days, you know, oh, I don't feel like going in, but I miss being around people. It's not normal to work at home and be by yourself all the time. Like it's just weird. So after a lot of years of doing that, I kind of miss having a job outside of the home. So I have thought about going back to work outside the home in some way. I'm just not sure exactly what that would be at this point. I've had a few ideas, but so I hope that answered your question. If you could pick another career today, what would it be? You know, I don't know exactly for a career. I always think it might be fun to work in a certain like doctor's office environment, like with aesthetics somehow, because most of you guys know I went to school a long time ago to be an esthetician. And I always said I really never liked the spa, that kind of setting for it. So I should have went to work like at a plastic surgeon's office or dermatologist's office. So I could see doing that. Like I think I'd like it. I think I'd also like working in real estate somehow. The only thing I don't know that I would love with real estate is sometimes showing the houses and creepy people maybe, you know, meet up with you and all that. There's like a downside, but I love houses and I love just looking at houses and real estate and just other things about it. I mean, you can do a lot of things in real estate. You don't have to actually show people houses, you know what I mean? So kind of other areas with real estate I think I'd like to do. Are you setting any done by 50 goals? No, I'm not sure exactly what this question means, but I can tell you I don't have any done by 50 goals. So where do you see your YouTube channel going in 3, 5, 10 years? That's a good question, but it's honestly something I don't focus on too much. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, she has no goals and you don't treat your job seriously. I do, but at the same time, YouTube is so finicky about things that if you get too caught up in numbers, for instance, which I love numbers, that's what's hard for me to not get caught up in the numbers. I love looking at the back end, the analytics, and numbers in any kind of job really, and especially YouTube, tells you how well the job you're doing. But at the same time, you can get caught up in that and it can feel like a failure then. So you don't want to have goals too high that they're not attainable. And sometimes with YouTube, it's not necessarily in your hands. So I tend to not worry too much about YouTube in the future, if that makes sense. I focus on what I'm doing now, if I'm happy, if I'm liking it. I've done a lot of soul searching with YouTube the past year because I've had bouts of it not making me happy and not loving doing what I'm doing. And I've just realized certain things I have to do and not do to make me focused on it and not focused on some other things or other people. Focus on, you know, the subscribers you have now, not worry about constantly that next thing and the next thing. Oh, I have this many subscribers, now I need more, now I need more, and now I need more. Well, that's great, but at the same time, it makes it so you're not appreciating what you have, I feel. And just because you have so many subscribers doesn't mean you're getting any more views. And the views are what count. That's what's important, is somebody actually seeing your videos. You can have all the subscribers you want, but if your views don't reflect that, that's just an arbitrary number. So how did you meet your husband? How long have y'all been married? We have been married in April. It will be 18 years, I think. Yeah, 18 years. So sometimes when you've been married so long, it's like you kind of forget a little bit, like the exact years. And we've been together 2 years before that, which is crazy because I don't feel like we're old enough to be together that long. I always say that. I'm like, we're not old enough to be married this long. We met through my sister-in-law, who is a hairstylist. She cut my husband and his brother's hair, which she is married to his brother now. So we all went to her to get our hair done. We were friends. She cut their hair, and I just met them through them. We were all hanging out. We were just, you know, friends for a while. So, you know, all of a sudden when you just see somebody like in a different light, all of a sudden, you know, it was kind of like that. But where do you and your husband plan on retiring? You know, this is so funny. We joke about this recently because retirement has been brought up a lot. And again, I'm like, we're not old enough to retire. Now, my husband is 8 years older than me, but he's still not old enough to retire. And most people think we're the same age. I mean, nobody thinks he's 8 years older than me. And so I'm like, I feel like everybody's talking about retirement. I'm like, what? It's not even on our radar, you know? We're not thinking about retirement. So we're not really thinking about it, but I mean, we plan for it, obviously, money-wise and all that, but we're not like, oh, it's not like a 2-year plan or 5-year plan, you know? So we would probably like to live back somewhere closer to the water, just so we could have a boat again and fish. I'm really missing having a boat. We sold it before we moved here, and I've not missed it for many years, but the last couple of years I've really missed having a boat. It's just a fun way to get out in the summer, in the heat, being down here in the South, and of course I lived in Florida before. It's a nice way to be able to be outside and have fun. So I really miss having a boat. We'd like to be somewhere on the water. My husband likes to fish. Have you reconsidered trying Disney Cruise Line? This came from one of those cruise videos. We have thought about it, but we're not quite there yet. You know, we talk about it, but there may be some things in the works at some point. Where do you get your style inspiration? All over, really. You know, just things I see like in magazines, on the internet, Pinterest, like just things that grab my attention, ads, you know, all over the place, really. Let's see. What do you like and dislike about doing YouTube right now? Oh, Lord, girl, this could be a whole video in itself. There's so much, and I feel like I'm not going to get my thoughts out correctly on it because, you know, so much goes through my head when I talk about that. And a lot of times it depends on what day you ask me. You know, one day, I mean, it may be bad, and other days I'm like, no, it's fine, you know. It really depends. I have learned, like I was kind of speaking to earlier, to not pay attention to a lot of other stuff, what's going on YouTube. That helps me. I'm a perfectionist. I overthink a lot. Things get in my head a lot. I think somebody had asked me what was my Myers-Briggs or my Enneagram number. We did Myers-Briggs at that old job I was talking about, like all the business and accounting people one time. I don't remember for what. A lot of companies do Myers-Briggs tests. I can't remember. I think there's 4 letters. And I know I was like INJ or IN something J. And my Enneagram is 1. That should tell you a lot. I'm the perfectionist. My Enneagram is 1 with a 5W6 wing. So if you know anything about those, that'll tell you more than you probably ever want to know about me. But it probably explains a lot too. So as far as disliking, I mean, what's funny is I actually don't love filming videos. I like the back end of it. I like editing, researching numbers, pulling reports on things, like I said, researching, getting my ideas together. Actually filming sometimes is exhausting to me, meaning just pulling everything out, making sure the lighting's this and that, and just all of that. Filming sometimes can take the fun out of it for me, and I've tried not to overthink. That's why sometimes, depending on, you'll see different things for me as far as YouTube, maybe not way overproduced and maybe not the way this person or everybody's doing it now, but I have to still make it fun for me. If I overthink something, I won't do it. I'll get overwhelmed, I'll overthink it, you know, the perfectionism comes way out, and it's just like, oh my God, if I can't do it perfect and I can't do all this, I'm just not gonna do it. So that's why sometimes, like that shoe haul the other day, you'll just see me whip out a camera and go, hey, I wanna share these things with you. I think you guys would like them. You know, kind of an old school sit down, chit chat or something like that, because that way it's still fun. I'm still getting some things across that I want to. I'm still connecting with you guys, but I'm not overthinking it in my head a whole lot. I hope that makes sense. And I don't watch a lot of YouTube that much anymore, I hate to say. That can discourage me sometimes and get into my head like what everybody else is doing. I try to stay on top of it just enough to know you know, if something's trending or popular, to maybe jump on that if it's something, you know, I think everybody would want to see. But I really don't watch a lot anymore, just because I just can't. I mean, there are still people I watch and I still watch them videos, but not anything like I used to. So this one is, do you have any pets? We no longer have pets. We had a pet for like 18 years. I would love to have another pet, but we travel. We don't have any family that live near us. We do have friends that could come watch the pet when we're gone, but I hate putting that burden on someone. That just really bothers me. I do not want to board a pet. We've done that in years past, and I feel like they come back with God knows what. So that is a lot of the reason. I would love to have another pet. I really miss having a pet. We had like a little visitor bunny not too long ago, and I'm telling y'all, that almost stressed me out. Like, I wanted to open the door and go, come in, because knowing he was there, I had to keep checking on him. He would like hang out in our front little garden area in our yard, and he would sleep sometimes under this bush, hiding out all day. And, you know, and then sometimes you'd watch him and then he'd be gone. Well, then I'm wondering, where's the bunny? You know, I'm always reporting back to my husband, have you seen the bunny today? Oh, what's he doing? You know, it got to be like he was like our pet. He'd go away for a few days. You're wondering where the bunny is. He'd come back. Did you enjoy your Alaska cruise, and would you do it again? Yes, we did enjoy it very much. I highly recommend it to anyone. It's beautiful. All right, my camera cut me off, so that is a sure sign I'm talking too much. So I do have a lot more questions. I'm gonna try to go through a few, but then I'm probably gonna have to make a part 2. So if you have any more questions, leave me in the comments below. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to yours. I'm hoping I don't miss any. So where have you worked before YouTube? I've worked at Target. I've worked in jewelry a while, both like back in like bookkeeping, office, accounting, and then I've also worked out on the floor. I've worked, like I said, in accounting at like doctor's offices, and business manager, finance. I feel like, I don't know, a lot of stuff like that. Mainly like office, like business type jobs. Favorite makeup brand and favorite clothing brand. I do not have a favorite for either. Do you have a lot of friends, or do you prefer hanging out more alone? I actually don't have a lot of friends, and I never have. I've always been one of those people ever since I was little to only have like a few close friends, and maybe like 1 or 2 at a time, and then, you know, something will happen, people move away. I had a childhood best friend from like 3rd grade up until probably like 10, 15 years ago. So that was always nice to have, you know, that one friend. And it takes a lot for me to get to know somebody real well. Will you ever consider vlogging again? I'm not sure. It just doesn't feel natural to me sometimes. If it does, I'll share. If not, sometimes I feel like, and maybe this is just people I've watched. Now, not everybody, so don't take this the wrong way. Sometimes I feel like you can learn too much about somebody when you're seeing them a lot in vlogs, and then it may change your opinion about them, or you're just kind of like, I don't know, I can get tired of seeing that much of somebody, so I would assume somebody would get tired of seeing that much of me. Have you ever worked previously in a corporate environment? If so, what did you do? Yes, I answered that. The last company was really big, I believe. And it was basically like a lot of different branches, but the association as a whole was very large. I was a business manager, kind of like business finance. It's still all these years later stuck in my head. Like I had a $1.2 million annual budget that I was responsible for. And sometimes that'll just come in my head, sometimes thinking about like all those things I used to do and, you know, income coming in, out, and I don't know, I kind of miss that stuff. What is your dream travel destination? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of places I'd like to see. I'd like to go to Greece. You know, it's one of those, if we want to go, we plan it and we go. I wouldn't say there's anything like, oh my gosh, I'm just dying to see. There's a lot of things I'd like to see. There's a lot of things in the US I'd still like to see. Just time and money, obviously. How far in advance do you pack for a trip? It depends. Usually that week before, week or two, I'll start planning outfits, but I usually don't pack until a couple days before. That's why sometimes it's really hard for me to actually film when I'm packing, because then it's more in like crunch time, you know, that day or two before. Like I might lay things out, but as far as like putting things and in the suitcase, that's kind of, I wouldn't call it last minute, because I'm planned out and I have a list and I stick to the list, and it's actually pretty easy. We just do it so much. What's my dream cruise vacation? Probably Mediterranean somewhere, but honestly, we've been talking about this for years, but either we can't go for timing because a lot of them are longer and my husband couldn't get off that much time at work. But probably some kind of Mediterranean, or then the itineraries some years just aren't that good. They're not worth the money and the time if it's just so-so. Are you a makeup artist by trade? I would say no. I did go to school to be an esthetician. They do teach you some, but most of it's self-taught because I always had some skin issues. So I had to know how to apply makeup to make myself feel good, I felt like. How many Louis Vuitton handbags do you own, and which one do you use the most? I don't know how many I have. It's not a ton. You guys have seen them all at some point. I've sold some that I'm not using. I don't like things just sitting around. That bothers me. My most used is definitely the Sienna PM. That's just honestly been one of my favorite bags. I feel like I've not used hardly any others for a while. It doesn't mean I don't like the others. It's just right now, that's been my absolute favorite. What's your favorite store for lower prices? I'm guessing you mean clothing. I don't know, I can go anywhere. It's all about how you style something. Like I always say, I could go to Walmart and probably find something style. I can go to Target. You know, I can go to Kohl's. Our Kohl's has been very hit and miss though. I used to shop more at Kohl's, and then our JCPenney went out. I miss going to JCPenney because I could always find some good random things in there. So I like places like that. It just depends on what they're carrying, whether I'm finding something there at the moment. Any plans to move back to Florida? Go Gators. Go Gators. Not right now. If we do, it will not be to the area we lived before. Every time we go back there and visit family, we're just like, I can't see us living here again. Maybe in Florida somewhere, like the Panhandle or the other coast, but we're not sure. What are your thoughts on your new Jeep? Thinking about getting one? Well, it's not new anymore. It's actually in April, it'll be 3 years I've had the Jeep. I mean, where has that 3 years gone by? I had a Lincoln before that, as most of you know. I actually have two like car organization videos, one on each on my channel. So the Jeep will be 3 years in April, and I still really like it. I just was set on getting something else, and I really was loving the Jeep. I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, by the way, for those that you don't know. And I searched high and low for that thing that had everything on it. Our local dealer did not have the ones I wanted. That's where I first drove it. Like did a test drive, and I was like, God, I love this. It drives so smooth. But they did not have it, and they didn't want to get one in for me because I'm like, hey, I'm gonna buy a car. If you get one in with everything I want, I'm gonna buy it. So I ended up going to Tennessee. Awesome dealership. They actually had 3 or 4 on the lot of everything I wanted. So it was between the Limited and the Overland model, and the guy we worked with was great. He pulled them side by side, and I didn't go with the Overland just because the outside reminded me too much, I wouldn't say of a car, but too much like what the Lincoln was. And I was ready for something a little more rugged. I just felt like the Jeep fit my personality. It's like, I like luxury on the inside and a little bit rugged on the outside. So the model I chose was perfect, but why it was hard to find is I pretty much got all the extras that the Overland and the higher end models have, but in the Limited. So it was hard to find. I mean, I have all the options, everything that you can imagine. Any little tiny little thing that you could get on the technology packages and the luxury and the heated and cooled seats. Like a lot of them had heated, but they didn't have cooled. So I wanted the outside look one way, but the inside to be another. So I went with that one. So it was hard to find. I love it. Still love it to this day. This one is, how old are you? I am 45. Weird saying that. Like, I don't feel old saying 45. It just, the number is like, how did I get to be that age? Have you considered getting your eyes microbladed? I have recently, only because there's someone in my area that looks like they do an awesome job. But I mentioned this actually in a Get Ready With Me recently. I'm still like, I'm not loving the idea of like, it's essentially getting your eyebrows tattooed on, and I don't like that idea. How long have you lived in Alabama? Any plans to move? We have lived here for just over 8 years. No, actually, take that back. We've lived in our house for 8 years. It'll be 9 years this summer, which again, where did that time go? Where did it go? It feels like we've lived here maybe like 5 years, maybe. I mean, every time we talk to our parents, they're always like, how long have you lived here again? Because time has went by so fast since we moved. In the blink of an eye, it's like, where did it go? What happened to it? Any plans to move? No. Somebody had asked me, I think, that question too, like if we're moving. About 2 or 3 years ago, we had talked about maybe wanting to move to Charleston, South Carolina, because my husband knows some people from work there that he worked with in Florida. And, you know, it's maybe an area where he could work easily. But I don't know. We were trying to make something happen that wasn't supposed to happen at that time. Not saying it might not ever, but we needed to really like pull back and look at, you know, how can we make the most of things here? Like, you know, make a good situation here better. And he's changed jobs since then, you know, essentially kind of doing the same thing, but changed companies. So that's been a lot better. What are your go-to handbags for different things? Travel, shopping, quick errands, etc. Well, again, I've been using that Louis Vuitton Sienna PM. That's just my quick go-to. For travel, I use my Gucci Soho Disco a lot. I use my favorite MM a lot from Louis Vuitton. I like my YSL bag. That's a great one. My Neverfull is awesome for travel. I love the GM for travel because it's nice and big. It fits everything. And then I also have some other bags. Y'all know, if you've watched any of my travel videos, I love a good bag. I'm always on the hunt for a good bag, you know, all shapes, sizes, cheap, expensive, you know, I don't discriminate with bags. So this is, I'm a stay-at-home wife. What do you do to keep your days filled? I work from home, as you guys know, and there's a lot of it you don't see. I feel like there's a lot of YouTube people don't understand, like, on the back end of it. It's not just sitting down and filming and putting a video up. There's so much more to it than that. And I know that sounds really like a simple answer to make it sound like we're so busy and we do so much, but there's just more to it than that. It takes up more time. You're answering comment. I mean, if your job is on social media, it seems like you're never really off of work. That's the bad thing working at home. I know other professions, not just YouTube. If you work from home, you're kind of always on. That's what we love when we go on a cruise. I always tell people, it's like, don't get the internet package, put your phone in the safe, you know, unless you're out in port and stuff, then you can check email. But it's like, that's our time to unwind. I love it. I love being off the grid that time on a cruise, because that's really the only time I do unplug. I feel like other trips, you know, I still got my phone out, I'm still checking things. Why don't you show your husband on social media? So I've gotten this a lot too. I've addressed it over the years, mainly his job. He does work in a job now where he could be on social media a little bit more, but he just doesn't want to. He doesn't really care about it. You know, he's perfectly happy being in the background. Now, if I share a picture or something from us, like on vacation, he's totally fine with that. And I'll ask, do you mind if I share this picture? So once in a while I'll do that, but he has no desire to be, you know, and he'll be involved a little bit sometimes on the back end, like helping me with something technical or, you know, a problem I may have or something with YouTube, but he has no desire to be on YouTube. And I totally respect that. Most people don't. It's kind of strange if you think about it, being on social media. It's weird for me. Most people that know me in real life, because I am pretty private, it's weird for me to be doing this, honestly. Do you like to wake up early or stay up late? Early. Totally. I'm a morning person. I'm just trying to go through and make sure. Now, I got these questions off Instagram where you type in the little box. Next time I may do it on there because sometimes it's just easier to type right away my answer and put it back up on stories. But if you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comments below and I'll do another one. Be sure you follow me on Instagram so you don't miss anything like this when I'm asking questions or showing things. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss anything new, like random videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.